Please! What? I keep trying to go bear, and it's like, no, no, you're a cat. And I was like, no, I'm trying to go bear, bitch. And it's like, no, no, Blizzard. Blizzard sucks dick. And I'm like, yeah, no. Yeah, I know. I'm very aware. What? Come on! I love all the fucking piece of shit idiot kids. They use the word zooted all the time because they're fucking stupid and they don't know where the word is, and they're 110 years out of line because they're so disconnected from fucking reality that they don't even know how dumb their word is. Kind of like the word boomer. They don't know what boomer is because they never actually read a book. They're so stupid. They don't know what the word boomer is because they never read a book or ever talk to anybody or do anything intelligent. They're just incel fucking idiots who just die in their little rooms, you know. And it's funny because they use that word zooted, and I think that's so funny. Actually, it's like the mark of an idiot, piece of shit, fucking clueless idiot. There was one guy in my life, he liked to use that word a lot. Clueless fucking cocksucking idiot. I'm serious. Like, they think they're so... Oh, man, I'm using that word zooted. Fucking idiots. like, trust me. So they think they're on top because they're popular, they're young, they're like 18 to 27 or whatever. But the minute that they're out, they're gonna understand that they're the only generation everybody hates. Because they're dumb and they're hateful and they're shitty. And they're like totally status quo based and, you know. Dumb as fuck. You can see it, like, they've got guild names like Zooted. See it? because they're goddamn fucking stupid. They have to show you with their names how goddamn stupid they are. It's like this like inexplicable retarded just retarded inexplicable need to prove to you how goddamn dumb they are with their fucking name. You know what I'm saying? It's sad, but it's true. And I watch them do it, and I'm like, man, you fucking idiots. You have no clue. Read a book or go watch a documentary or something. You guys are so goddamn dumb. You're gonna get eaten by the entire world when you're done with high school. You're gonna get eaten by the entire world. Like, you can tell from their retardation, right? Hey guys, this guy's so bad. I've got 850 levels on him and he can't beat me. He's so bad. Durr! 850 levels, guys. I'm so good. Durr! 850 levels makes me so much better than that guy. Durr! And you can tell when they get out of high school, they're going to be like, oh shit, I graduated high school without ever touching the opposite gender. Oh shit, I got out of high school and I never did make $1 or have a job. Oh shit, everybody ever worshipped as an idiot rapper who failed in their career. Oh shit, I use words like zooted all the time because I'm a fucking idiot. Like, oh shit, like I couldn't, I use this word zooted like I'm into cocaine, but you know, but honestly, cocaine is 10 times more expensive than I could ever afford or whatever. It's just so stupid. Watching their fucking like the things that they say and do, the way that they act. It's just like goddamn fucking dumb. They're off on some PvE thing, trying to punch me because I'm AFK, set off some kind of fucking thing and steal 200 caps from me. Okay, you're a piece of shit who has to sit on Fallout 76, who's so fucking bored that he's got to sock AFK people, see what their reaction is, and fucking get their money when they attack you back. And like, you got to kind of wonder, dude, how dumb are you? How dumb are you? You know? How dumb are you? It's like, they're pretty dumb. They need you to know. They need you to know how dumb they are. They like need to show you in your fucking face while you're AFK how fucking goddamn fucking like straight gobsmacking fucking stupid low IQ fucking fail out of high school bullshit idiot. You know what I'm saying? Like come on, man. You need to come step to me in a PvE game while I'm AFK. You're 800 levels higher than me. You're a fucking idiot. You are a fucking idiot. I don't care if I say it right to your face. You are a fucking piece of shit idiot. Anybody in the community would say so. You gotta bully people on Fallout 76? Go play a real game for a fucking living, you clueless fucking piece of shit griefer shithead moron. Go play a real game. Any real game where our levels were equal, I would have stomped your fucking face in. I know because I got maybe 85 more hits than you did in our brief fucking engagements. That's how I know. And you were scared of it, you too. You were scared of it. You're like, oh shit, is this guy actually going to beat me? Yeah, I'm going to beat you if you didn't have 850 levels on me because you're that much of a born loser that you played this game for 850 fucking levels. Trust me, dude. I'm never going to get that high. I'm never gonna be that goddamn clueless moron. You know what I'm saying? You can think about you can like show it off to anybody who you thinks cares, but there's me in the fucking chat calling you a fucking cocksucking piece of shit loser right to your fucking face. Hey, while you're sucking so much dick right in public, bye. You know what I'm saying? Right to their fucking face. I'll say it right to their face. Hey, while you're sucking so much dick and right in fucking public, right?
Shredder development program. A few months on the job and I'm already in hot water. I could use your help, adventurer.
Shut
the
up,
venture
you.
company set up the venture companies.
Goblins are so annoying.
Oops, had a little mishap.
Nope. I'm just trying to get whatever quests I can get before they gank me. Ooh, I'm taking that. Yeah, I want that. Oh my god, I want that, but it's yours. You can have it.
Being wharf master of a busy port like Ratchet, I keep my finger on the pulse of information.
No, you don't.
I know all about the exchange of goods and money between here and Booty Bay. The latest bit of news I've heard is about the venture company's Boulder Lode mine northeast of the Sludge Fen. One of the miners discovered an emerald the size of your fist. I know a few buyers who'd be interested in getting their hands on something like that, and I'd be willing to go half and half on its sale.
I'm like AFK and I get harassed by some small penis fucking idiot in the fucking community trying to make fucking Fallout 76 worse. Like, seriously, dude. How much of a fucking born loser must be? You're like, it's like a Tuesday night and you're on Fallout 76 trolling some level 150. AFK in my base. You're the piece of shit anybody would tell you. Fucking Jimmy Kimmel would say live on television, you're a piece of shit. Not that I care about Jim Kimmel, but seriously, like, even Jimmy Kimmel would say you're a piece of shit on live television. Because you are. The way you treat your community is clear. Nice. It's good money. But hey, I went 3 years, and that's the first time I've ever seen a Fallout 76 troll. It's why I completely destroyed him in the chat, you know? I know it wasn't fun, but born loser has to be a born loser. We destroy him in the chat, call him a fucking cocksucker to their fucking face, because they are, you know? The way they act is obvious. Fucking sour bitch, you know? And we move on with our lives. I'm still 10 times better than that person. I've got 10 times more follows than they could ever get if they tried their entire life. Had 10 times the life they've had. I've had 10 times the sex. I've had 10 times the fucking food. I've had 10 times the fucking life. I've just had, like, you know, it's just the way it is. And so they want to show up at your personal fucking, like, in your personal space like a loser. And I like trolling them to their fucking face, you know? Where is this quest giver? Oh, it's the innkeeper? Okay.
Come in, come in. Just don't sit too close to the stove. It hasn't exploded yet today, but just to be safe, I think you should sit elsewhere.
Ratchet is now my home. Is that what you just said? Oh my god, why did you do that? Oh no. You shouldn't have done that. You should not have done that. Oh my god. Well, what can I do? I've got to take the ship out of here, I guess.
You look like you might be needing passage across the Great Sea. Well, you have come to the right place. This here is the berth of the Maiden's fancy, finest passenger ship to travel these waters. When she arrives, just climb aboard, and the next thing you know, you will find yourself basking on the sandy beaches of Stranglethorn.
Stop. Well, it seems that I played this game too much today. Let's get out of it. It was fun for the time that I did it. $6. Liza P. Mostly positive for outward. Mostly positive for outward. Yes, it's partially a walking simulator. Yes, your backpack sucks. Last Oasis is $9.89. I thought this game was going to be so good. But I don't know. Yeah, it's like mixed right now. It's not doing so well. Yeah. I've been playing the same games too much. I'm going to bomb out here. Oh no, did I take my fucking... Oh no. Oh wait, no. Oh, I think that's what... That one's okay, actually. I think... I don't know, let's see. What's on it? It's, modulated strip miner 2, cool. Here, this is good. And inventory item. No, I want you to actually take them off. Unfit. Then, yeah, and we want you to come to the fitting here. Yep, but not this though. For this, I want you to come here and undo this, unfit. unfit, and then we would go fit, fit. Not bad, not bad. And then we come to the inventory and we say, in these things we take crystals. Yep, crystals. Yep. And then we come back here and we see that we have ice harvesting drones. But I want mining drones, which apparently I sent all the way back to Jita. Unless this Procol Herm has in its drone bay. Mining drones. Cool. Mining drones. Yay. And we'll take one, we'll put it back in there, and we'll take one of these and put it in that. And that's all we need. And we'll go back out to mining now, which is fine. Oh no, I'm in the right place. Yeah, I'm good. So what else am I looking for here? This is survival. Sons of the Forest, Subnautica. I didn't like Subnautica. Don't Starve Together, Satisfactory, Terraria, PUBG, Lethal Company, Resident Evil 4, Dead by Daylight, Risk of Rain, Second Land, Daisy. I want to buy Dwarf Fortress, and that seems cheaper than it normally is. Let's see what their video says.
For the past 20 years. Dwarf Fortress is a... I'm Tarn Adams, and I've been making Dwarf Fortress with my brother Zach for the past 20 years.
Genius.
Dwarf Fortress is a settlement management game.
I hate settlement.
You'll have to make sure your dwarves have enough alcohol to drink and mushrooms to eat.
Yep.
But first, a new world and centuries of history will be generated for you to build upon. A story will arise as you play, because your mind is a story-building engine, and Dwarf Fortress is designed to help you weave tales. Fortresses tend to collapse. Flooding, lava, beasts, starvation, madness. Dwarves aren't as resilient as you might think. But it's okay, because losing is fun, and now we've got graphics.
This is our life's work, and we're never gonna stop.
Hope you enjoy the game. Good luck.
Oops.
I'm Tarn Adams, and I've been making Dwarf Fortress with my...
Yeah, it's good, but it's not what I'm looking for. I like endless. It's got a good endless to it, but it is not what I'm looking for. Yeah, like honestly, Worm is the one that appeals to me the most. I think I own Worm though. I don't know what's trying to sell it to. I do. I own Worm Online. Uh, uh, I am out here trying to get to. Yep.
Warp drive active.
I didn't want 4 Fed navies in here. I did buy Worm, yeah. It's weird because it's like I haven't done a Worm crash course in a long time, but I've always looked at Worm for a long time. I just thought Worm might be really good, but I don't know. I look at that and I'm like, I could do Mortal 2 at that point, but see, Worm might be better than Mortal 2. I don't know. Yeah. It takes so long to do anything.
Worm Online. The ultimate sandbox game. Despite being one of the most free and unimaginably depth-filled and joy-filled games out there, the reality is that Worm Online is a 17-year-old game written in Java, and despite constant updates throughout the last decade and a half, it still has elements in its mechanics and its UI which are, by their very nature, difficult
They
or
changed how
unintuitive to
belts
understand.
worked. Wow, they changed how belts worked in the last three days. See, they're like, if you don't want to leave one belt, you don't have to. Look at there's so many. I don't know. Maybe that's the way it's always been, but I think this is more. They've definitely upgraded it.
The purpose of this tutorial is to give you, as a new player to this game, a more contextualized tutorial to help understand and get the most of your game experience in Worm Online. So, without any further messing around, let's jump in. When you first create your character through the Steam client and launch the game for the first time, this is what you will be greeted with. The tutorial section. In the top right, you will have a welcome to the world of Worm Online and an introduction to the basic game mechanics before you enter into the lands. However, before we continue down this path, there are a few elements to the UI that I want to cover off briefly with you. To start off with, we're going to look down here in the bottom left. In the bottom left, we have our chat tab. The chat tab, starting off in the far left here, has local. The local chat tab is essentially, as the name suggests, all players in your local vicinity. What they're saying, the number of them, and also a distance tab. The community assistants, if these community assistants will do their best to assist you, or global players that are Freedom Kingdom together, regardless of the server. Freedom Kingdom being the default PvE kingdom that you are in Worm Online. Next, you have the Freedom tab. The Freedom tab connects you with all players that are on your current server. Finally, you have the Trade tab. The trade tab is, as the name suggests, a trade channel where players can buy, sell, trade, or price check items. Next thing we're going to look at, and perhaps one of the most important tabs to take note of, in the bottom right is our event tab. The event tab essentially gives you information of what things are happening in the game, both to yourself, your character, and around you. Additionally, you also have the friends tab, which, if you're unlike me and you actually have friends, they will show up in a list here showing whether they're online or offline, and the event that they're offline tell you when they were last online. Down the bottom, we also have a blank bar. This blank bar is where your action timers will be displayed, but we'll cover that off in more detail in a moment. The next thing we're going to look at is, in the center here, our quick bar. The quick bar gives us, as the name suggests, access quickly to some of the more commonly used toggles in Worm Online, such as climbing, inventory, skills, our character window, our journal, crafting, cooking, and the world map. You can take the time to familiarize with yourself with each of these sections later on, and as we progress through the tutorial. The next thing we're going to look at in the top left here is our character bar. The character bar here shows us our character's name, also our stamina, which is represented with the green bar, and our health, which is represented on the same bar but inversely. So for example, as we perform actions and move around the world, we then also have our going to look at is just under our character tab, and that is our fighting tab. We're going to move this down to the bottom right here, and we're going to lock this in place by right clicking and then left clicking the lock window button. In this button, we have aggressive, normal, and defensive alongside ranged. These are all different combat types in Worm Online, which again we will cover off in a different tutorial. Going back to the top left, we also have our target bar, which we're going to move down and place right near our combat tab. This is 3 icons 30, and we're going to learn how to dig. So the first thing we're going to do is open up for the first time our inventory. So we can use our quick bar down here to open our inventory and close it. We can also press I to bring it up. Once our inventory is open, you can see here in our inventory tab all of the different items that we currently are holding. The first thing we're going to do to be able to dig is activate our shovel. To activate our shovel, all we need to do is double left click on the item while it's in our inventory. Once it's activated, it will glow green, and it will also show up in the bottom of our inventory as an activated item. It's worth noting that a common misconception is that by equipping our shovel, it will be activated. That isn't the case. The one way to always be sure that an item is activated is by checking this section down the bottom here. So by double left clicking on our carving knife, it's now glowing green, and it's now showing as our activated item. We're now going to go back to our shovel. We're going to find a good looking spot to dig, and we're going to right click on the ground and press the dig button. In the bottom right here in our event tab, you can now see that we have a digging timer. The digging timer will tell us how long each action is going to take. Whilst we're performing actions, our stamina will also begin to drain as we become exerted from performing these actions. Additionally, as a new player, you can also queue up to 3 actions, and as you increase your skills, you'll be able to queue up even more. By default, any dirt that is dug will get dropped onto the ground as a pile of dirt. We can then interact with these piles of dirt by right-clicking on them and opening them, or simply selecting take if you don't mind which piece of dirt you take, and just want to try and pick up as much as you can. It's worth noting that with digging, you're not digging down the entire tile, but instead you need to think of each tile as having its own separate corner. When you dig into a piece of dirt, you are digging on the tile corner that you are closest to. We will cover off how to dig properly and understand the digging system in another tutorial. Now we're ready to move on to the next part of the tutorial. The next part of the tutorial is going to cover off how we can cut down trees and get wood. So, to start off with, what we're going to do is we're going to find a fine looking tree. Now it's worth noting that all trees in Worm Online will have an associated age with them. Generally speaking, the older the tree is, the more wood it will produce. To find out the age of a tree, we can right click and press the examine icon, at which point in the event tab, it will bring up the age of the tree that we're looking at. Additionally, you can double left click, and this will also examine the tree that you're currently stood in front of. So examining this tree up in the corner here, we can see that this is a mature walnut tree. Mature trees will produce a large enough log that we will be able to potentially make some planks or other useful materials from it. So, to start cutting down the tree, we're now going to do what the tutorial is asking us, which is to activate our hatchet. So we've double left clicked on that, it's turned green, and it's now showing as activated in the inventory. We're then going to right click the tile under the tree, and we're going to select cut down. You can see here that we've now got our cut down action timer in progress, and our stamina is once again dropping. Our cut down action has now ended, however, we haven't cut down the tree. So let's examine it again. This time, as well as the information being displayed before, we can now see that the mature walnut tree has taken damage. Damage for trees is displayed between 0 and 100. So you can see here that in that one chopping action, we've done 73 damage. We can reasonably guess that if we do now another cut down action, we will be able to cut down this walnut tree in its entirety. And there we have it. It's been cut down, and you can see once again, we now have a pile of logs, which we can now use to turn into useful equipment. It's worth noting that once you're out there into the wide world of Worm, that when you cut down trees that are older than mature, such as old, very old, or overaged, they will produce felled trees. Felled trees you will need to cut up to produce logs to make planks, etc. out of, rather than simply just getting logs. Generally speaking, if you cut down a very young tree, such as this walnut tree sprout over here, they won't give you any wood at all, or such a minimal amount that it's almost not worth the bother. Now, we're ready to move on to the next portion of the tutorial. The next portion of the tutorial is going to cover off mining. Now, mining in Worm Online is very important for resource gathering. The first thing we're going to do is head into this cave, and it's going to tell us to activate our pickaxe to be able to mine. So we're going to double left click, check that it's activated in our bottom of our inventory, and then we're going to look at this iron vein here, and we're going to right click and mine. Again, we can see that we've got a mining timer in our event tab, and we can also see that our stamina is slowly draining. Additionally, as we've been performing these actions, we can see another tab has popped up here. This tab is our skills tab. This will show us by the increments of our skill gain. So there are many different skills in Worm Online, and they will all increase as we perform actions. To check out your skills, we can open this up by going to the quick bar and clicking on the skills button. Additionally, you can toggle this on and off by pressing the F2 key.
Warp drive active.
Here we can see our characteristics such as body, mind and soul, and then our skills such as swords, shields, axes, woodcutting, digging and mining. Any of the ones with the plus next to their names means that they have a sub-skill in association with them. So for example, swords as longsword, short sword, and two-handed sword as sub-skills, which have their own leveling up that you'll need to be doing. Now that we've finished mining, we will have produced an iron ore, which will have gone into a pile at our feet. So let's open up this pile of items, and we can see that we've indeed got some pieces of iron ore, which has gone into this pile of items. Additionally, the person who's mining next to me is mining out copper, which is going into the same shared pile, which is why it's not showing up as just simply a pile of iron ore.
Docking request
Now
accepted.
we can continue. So let's mine out one last piece of iron before we get ready to move on. Iron in particular is a very, very important resource in Worm Online, and many of your starting tools, weapons and armor, you will be looking to make them out of the iron that you find, smelting it down into lumps, and then forging it into your own creations. Let's continue. Okay, so the next stage of the tutorial will be familiarizing ourselves with how to wear our different weapons and armor, and also our character window. So, to open up the character window, you can either refer to your quick bar and click on character. Additionally, you can press the hotkey C, and this will open up your character window as well. Here in the character window, we can see a little mannequin of our player model, and additionally surrounding that we can also see various different slots by which we can equip different weapons and armor. So to equip weapons and armor to our character, we can either in our inventory right click on the item that we want to equip and select equip. As well as this, what we can do is we can drag the items onto our character window and have them automatically go and be put on by our character. And you can see as we do this, our character's appearance changes. So right now we've put on a full set of leather armor, a sword, and a shield, ready to venture out into the wild world of Worm. Should you wish to unequip your items, all you need to do is go to the bottom left, to the button that says body, right click, and then unequip all. This will unequip all of your armor, however, won't unequip your shield or weapon. So now, we can then use the target option on aggressive creatures to start fighting with them. However, for the safety of the players in this tutorial, we won't have the option to do this. However, we'll cover off fighting later on. If you don't know how strong a creature is, it's generally speaking best to completely avoid it. This means that when you first start out, you'll be fighting most of the time against practice dolls or weak creatures such as pigs, rats, or chickens. As your skills mature and you become more competent in combat, you'll be able to take on stronger creatures such as bears, crocodiles, or eventually things such as lava fiends and dragons. Now we're ready to proceed to the next stage of the tutorial. The next stage of the tutorial in Worm Online is actually just stepping into the game world. After all, the greatest educator is the world around us. As a bit of a guiding light in the world, we also have access to the journal. The journal is a few different tasks which we can create in the game. Worm Online doesn't have any NPC given quests, and these are the closest things you will get to a linear progression in the game beyond what you dictate for yourself and what you want to do. So for the first steps, we're going to have to chop down some trees, flatten some tiles, make a mallet, plan a house, kill a creature, plant crops, riding cows. It all sounds terribly exciting, and we're ready to progress. To do this, we're going to close the journal, we're going to close the character window, and we're going to hit continue up here. We're going to examine this board here, and this will take us to the next area, which will be the portal which we can take to the world of Worm. This Glimmersteel portal that we find right here in front of us, if we right click and use it, will give us the option of what servers and maps we wish to access. The North Islands are of Harmony and Defiance. Harmony being PvE and Defiance being PvP. The Southern Islands are made up of Chaos, which is PvP, Independence, Deliverance, Exodus, Celebration, Xanadu, Pristine, and Release, all of which are PvE. And then we have the Epic Islands, Desertion, Elevation, Serenity, and Affliction. All of the Epic Islands are PvP. For me, I'm going to hop over on to the Northern Islands. We're going to go to the PvE server of Harmony, and we are going to go ahead and start our worm journey. We're going to choose a starting village between Heartland and Harmony Bay. We're going to choose Heartland, and we're going to jump across. It's going to check one last time whether we actually want to do this. We're going to say yes, and we're off. So after loading in, we now find ourselves on the Heartland starter village, ready to begin our adventure into the wild world of Worm Online. However, before we do that, we've got one last thing to do, and that is to change our character. So what we're going to do is we're going to unequip our leather cap. We're also then going to look into our inventory and look for the brightly glowing golden mirror. The brightly glowing golden mirror will allow us to change our character's sex and also our appearance. We're going to right click and we're going to press use. This will first allow us to choose between the genders of male and female. It's going to ask us to lock this in because we cannot make this choice once we've locked it in again. Then we have this window that comes up, which is our character customization screen. It's going to let us choose between some different heads, different eyes, different noses, chins, skin complexion, eye color, hair, facial hair, and also our hair color. I think that's fine. We're going to say okay. Now that we are a very fine looking gentleman, we are ready to venture into the wild worlds of Worm. Worm Online is a very special game in the sense that it has no NPC given quests or storylines. It's instead up to the players to create their own path and their own journey. Worm Online is a perpetual world, which means that every decision you make will have either large or small effects on the players around you. For example, if you create a village, you will be able to house other players, keep them shelter, and interact with them. If for some reason you stop playing the game and abandon this village, eventually over time it will decay, turn to ruins, and perhaps be reclaimed by the forest. However, that's not where the story ends. Players may talk of your exploits, tell stories about the times when they joined your village as a new player, or perhaps somebody will uncover the ruins of your old village using their archaeology skill. Some of the servers in Worm Online are over a decade old, and as such they have rich layers of lore and history just waiting for you to discover them. If you found this tutorial video helpful, please give me a like and let me know if you did. Additionally,
God,
if you have any further questions,
his style is hard for me. It's the way how slow he talks, but he was good. Yeah, it was good.
Go through it. So we're starting out in the meadows. This is a locked starting point. Like I said, this is my server. I've been kind of playing around with it here and there. But over here you get the...
Thank you, Jagged Edge Productions for the excellent content for my stream. Thank you, Bloody Drongo, for the excellent content for my stream. I watched one before this. No, I didn't. Oops. So that's all. Yep. And then we come back here.
Are you sure? Yes or no?
Oh, your mic is bad.
Okay. So we're starting out in the meadows. This is a locked starting point. Like I said, this is my server. I've been kind of playing around with it here and there. But over here you get the tutorial screen, and you just kind of go through it. It tells you that you need to, use your left click and move for your camera and so forth, which as soon as you do it, it goes to next. WSAD for movement, and then Q and E also turn, but it doesn't tell you that. Z to climb, so those hills over there, some of them are rather steep, right here. It will actually climb that without turning on your climb ability. You can hit Z or click on this little icon right here. It doesn't matter either one. It's going to eat up stamina. And then it tells you to unclick it. And your health, nutrition, all that. Mouse over shows you everything that you need to know. Green bar is stamina, water, food, and then the next four are your nutrition. This is calories, carbs, fats, and proteins. Down below that, which is blank right now, is sleep bonus. I don't have any, because obviously it's a brand new character, so I don't get any. Press I for inventory, or you can click the little chest right here in the corner. And I'm just going to skip through these. It's just telling you how to equip stuff, and that you need to activate things before you can actually do anything. Open the character screen, which is right here, or you can hit the C. And then it wants you to equip stuff or unequip stuff. Shouldn't have anything on... We don't. Okay, so you can... There's multiple ways of doing things in this game. Mostly you're going to be right-clicking and doing stuff from a menu. It's a drop-down menu. So you can right-click on the hood and click on equip. And if you switch to show player, it shows that it's there. Or you can grab it and drop it so you can see he doesn't have it on. So you can just drop it onto him and it equips there. There's another option. You can bring it up here. So the red jacket you can bring up and just drop it on the torso. That's where it goes. For me, it's just easiest just to grab them and throw them up. And like here it says cloth glove, cotton ×2. So if you click on the little plus, you have 2 of them, but you don't have to equip them individually. individually. You just grab the whole thing, and it puts them both on there. Small shield, the short sword, and then up here, I don't know why they put it up further in the list, but for whatever reason, your pants. So now he's fully equipped with all of the starter gear. Sorry about that. Still got dogs to deal with and things going on in real life, so bear with me. Let's see. Nothing else in here that we need right now. So interactions, and like I said, you can read through them at your pace. Now it wants us to drop something on the ground. I find it's easier just to grab, or easiest to grab the rope, right click, go to drop, and place, so you can see where it's being placed. And then just left click and hold so you can move your screen around. But then you can drop it down, click next, right click it, take it, click next. That's all it wants you to do, is know that you can drop something and pick it back up. Next thing is terraforming. So we look for, where did it go? The shovel. And double click to activate, and it'll tell you down here what is actually activated. So you can activate the rope, you can activate the green apple, you can activate the compass. Anything that's in your inventory you can activate. Right now we want the shovel, and we can actually close the character screen so we can see what we're doing. It doesn't matter. This is basically the newbie area, and I'd like to kind of keep it that way. So I prefer nobody building specifically in the meadows. But the meadows is right here. The whole rest of this world is completely usable. So here's a closer view of it. This is the meadows, and it's just like this little area right here. All of the rest of this is usable. Build on it, make a settlement, make a house, farm on it, dig a mine, whatever you want to do. I don't care. Fair warning, if I find buildings in the meadows, I will probably jump on my GM character and demolish them. So save yourself the headache. It takes forever to build stuff, and you don't want to be losing it to something silly. I will be posting a sign right here just as a reminder, but just kind of be nice to the new people, and let them have the newbie area to kind of figure the game out. That would be preferable. Anyway, so it just wants you to be able to dig, so that you know, it shows you know how to dig, and I'll use this grass tile just so you can see what's going on. Right click on the tile itself, the square. You can right click on any of the borders, the corners. It doesn't matter. Click dig. And it takes a second. Now it's dug. You can click next. And it just kind of goes through more information on terraforming, the different types of materials. And then we move into wood cutting. So, but this is, when you're digging, it just goes down to bare dirt. And then of course it puts it in your inventory. Dirt weighs a lot. So if you have dirt, or you have a lot of weight anyway, this is as fast as you're going to move. In Worm Unlimited and on Worm Online, there is no sprint key. Most everything is operated by hotkeys or your mouse or right clicking, but there is no button or no ability to sprint. The best you can do that I'm aware of, and correct me if I'm wrong, feel free to leave comments and let me know, is that's a ram, there's a cow, There's horses in here. You can tame an animal. That's another cow. I know there's horses around here. That's a bull. I don't see any right now, but there is, for certain, I don't know what that is. But there is horses in here. You can tame a horse. It takes a little bit, and it requires the skill to do it. Stirrups, saddle, all that stuff on it. Ride on roads, and you'll be faster if you stay on the roads whether you have a horse or not. But for now, since the dirt makes us so slow, just right click, and there's two options to drop. You can either just drop it on the ground, or you can drop it as a pile. Dropping it as a pile picks up this theft warning. Just click on that, saying you understand if somebody sees it, they can steal it. It doesn't matter. The community for Worm is actually really, really cool. Most people don't even bother griefing, or I mean, you put in so much effort and time in this game that it's actually a really cool community. Most of them just want to kind of do what they want to do, and they're not worried about bothering you. At most, you're going to get somebody you wander into a village, and they're going to bug the snot out of you to come and share a cup of tea with them while they show off what they've built, or they're not looking at stealing your stuff. And on this particular server, if you do get griefed by anybody, in the events window right here, when you first start off, there is a welcome message. The GM is my character. It's not this character. It's my GM character. It's Phenom.
It's too old, but it's close. That's the problem. It's close. I don't know what they consider that to be. It's like I don't even know what it is, kind of. It's like... Oh yeah, Spaceborne 2. I heard that was pretty good, yeah. I want the like a sandbox. Yeah, this seems like the right sort of list. I think I've done this list before, though. It's like, yep, easy list. It's Saints Row the Third. Are you fucking serious? Saints Row the Third is not a sandbox, you idiot. Breath of the Wild is not... I mean, I guess, yeah. Whatever. It was close. Ten's best sandbox. The Witcher 3 is not a sandbox. Oh my god.
Sandbox RPGs include wide free roam and give players a lot of flexibility.
The Witcher 3 is not a sandbox.
There are also many optional tasks to do that add depth to the universe. Fans of sandbox role-playing games should not miss out on The Witcher 3, which is widely regarded as one of the greatest games in the genre. Next up we have Elden Ring. Many players have spent dozens of hours exploring the lands between, despite the fact that speedrunners have completed the game in under 3. Unlocking new sections of the game's massive globe reveals even
under 3 hours, not days.
Created and released Kenshi for Microsoft Windows. a great combination of RTS, RPG, sandbox, and open world components. The post-apocalyptic game features construction, tactics, and survival components for unparalleled gameplay. It depicts free-roaming team-based role-playing with sandbox gameplay. Number 5, we have No Man's Sky. While getting off the ground, No Man's Sky start a new life in Portia. The player's primary objective is to rebuild Pa's abandoned workshop, produce and harvest crops, nurture unusual animals, befriend town residents, and solve...
DOS 2 is not
Riverland
a
comes to life with its
sandbox.
colorful, interesting personality. You'll get lost in the many side missions to stop the void. Combat is strategic.
This is
point
not a
and click
sandbox.
with varied strategies.
You're too young to understand what the concept is. No, I don't know about that. Yeah, this
In the
is
olden
closer.
days, before video games, we all used to sit around
Thank
in the
you,
sand,
PC Games,
sculpting
and for the
vast
excellent
and
content for
beautiful
my
fantasy
channel. I'd
worlds
like
full
to
of
sub to your
limitless
channel.
possibilities with our bare hands. Then games showed up and we all just sat and played them instead. But such as our innate will to find a box full of sand and make things with it, humankind went full circle and created sandbox games. Hooray! Let's celebrate the best in sandbox gaming the PC currently has to offer. Minecraft is pure sandboxy goodness, limited only by your own imagination and how many mods you can be bothered to install. More than a game, it's a platform for the creation of entire worlds and the games you can cram inside them. Whether you're a builder, an adventurer, or an eternally youthful YouTuber, Minecraft will get its hooks into you and set you to work delving into underground dungeons, fighting dragons, building cities of the future, and blowing up everything with more TNT than you could possibly count. You don't need to have an unhealthy fascination with crime or a soft spot for scathing satire to be able to appreciate Rockstar's latest Steal the Boat, get hunted by the police, and end it all with a bike chase down Mount Chiliad. Experience how overwhelmingly vast it actually is though. Frontier have ambitiously recreated our galaxy, yes, all of it, from our own little blue and green marble to the black hole at the centre. And you can go wherever you want, provided you've got enough fuel. There's an incredible universe to explore. Imposing asteroid belts, binary star systems, unexplored planets, you can find wonders everywhere. And simply getting from A to B is a singular delight. Tiny touches like the windows frosting over and the interior vibrating and shaking makes it all feel dauntingly real. And now, with Horizons, you can make landfall, hopping into a bouncy buggy to mess around on the surface of an alien
Oh,
world.
I don't know why you're
Just
mentioning
try
that.
not to crash,
Please
wearing
don't.
some flattering scuba gear. While there is a campaign, Arma 3 is more of a toy box, like Minecraft, filled to the brim with tools that will allow you to craft your game, whether it's a hardcore, persistent multiplayer world, or intimidating...
Oh my god, watching Arma makes me sick. Get out of it.
Just Cause 3
Just Cause 3 is not a sandbox.
bearded protagonist has only one love.
Just Cause 4 came out.
Explosions.
Do you mean 4? Do you mean 4? Yeah, 3's been out for a
He's
while.
been toppling dictators by smashing play. You guessed it.
I mean, it's not a sandbox really,
Despite
though.
the simple premise, Just Cause can tear across paradise, taking out military installations with more flair than a jewel-encrusted flamingo.
Yeah, it had a lot of
Ever
flair.
kept up all night worrying that you've missed your calling as a jousting champion? Turn ticket to the life of your world. It's just anything with. It furnishes players with props, character models, just a whole load of tools that can spring all manner of oddities and crimes against nature into being. Game design platform, video maker, impetus for countless daft shows, Gary Newman's bizarre creation is entirely driven by the mad brains of its users. Single-player adventures and multiplayer worlds are yours to create, but if you're feeling less ambitious, you can just make Half-Life characters pull really silly faces, making it all worthwhile. This always happens, doesn't it? You've spent ages hunting down food, planting crops, preparing for the winter, and then a bunch of bloody hellhounds leap out of the darkness, and before you know it, you've burned down your whole camp in an attempt to chase them off. Oh, and now you're going insane. Brilliant. Don't Starve is sometimes grueling and often cruel, but it hides its claws under a lot of whimsy. Its silly characters and bizarre beasties lull you into thinking that something this charismatic couldn't possibly want to drive you round the bend. Don't be fooled. It's every bit as challenging a survival game as its po-faced peers, but it never forgets to be fun. Every step you take in Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl could very well be your last. If roving
Stalker
managed to
Shadow
set the
Chernobyl is how
ruined
you
Soviet-era
closed.
settlement without succumbing to wounds or reality warping.
Does that mean Stalker's good, but it was also so clunky and piece of shit game?
It's oppressive and challenging, but that tension makes the experience all the
Oh
more
god, there's like a severe lack of sandbox. It's so bad. Yeah, but like that wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. It was good, but it wasn't good enough. No, it's not there. It's not there. There's nothing here. There's nothing here. There's nothing in these lists. Let's see what this thing is.
We'll probably just nap. We'll probably sleep while we're here. We'll go nap on their leaves. Let's rest until... let's just... to go along with it. I played a little bit of this earlier, and I played with a caster. It was rough. I remember Soul Ash 1. It was real rough to start out as a caster. You get whooped. There's a lot of crafting and a lot of all that. It's, you know, if you are a Dwarf Fortress Adventure Mode fan, then you probably like this kind of style thing. It kind of fits in that same thing. We're gonna go with some axe and things. We're gonna have an axe. I mean.
Dwarf Fortress Adventure Mode.
Hi, this is Tarn and Zach, the creators of Dwarf Fortress. Here we're in this cool fortress with the dwarf Vukar working on an artifact, and he's made Kasha Zunal a gold ring for his family. But now I'm going to retire this fort because I want to hold this ring in my own hand. I can make a character in adventure mode, anyone I want, even a whole party. Let's take this one. We can explore sites, fight monsters, join a faction, or go off to an old fortress to steal our ring. I've arrived with my hippo friend. We're pretending we belong here, sneaking down into the darkness. And there's the workshop. Let's grab the ring. There's a huge map to explore. Adventure mode is a great way to experience the world of Dwarf Fortress.
Okay, I had it figured out. You're all just pretending. Joke's over. No more gaslighting me about this game. I've tried to play it maybe 4, 5, 7 times, but nope. Brain overload as soon as I spot this interface, and I leave to do something more suited to my mentality. I see the Steam release, where they've put in a UI that doesn't look like something from an 80s film version of the Pentagon, and I foolishly give it a shot. First mistake. I know I can't play it, because I know that nobody can. I'm repeatedly ramming my head against one of those wooden baby toy things, expecting it to eventually fit in the square hole. So I load it in and make a world and press no on the tutorial, because I'm a big boy with a big brain, and then go hunting for a section of land without an infinite dwarf drowning device, because I don't know how to stop that. I go here, nice green section of the map, makes for a nice, green, nature-filled landscape. Wrong. 6 inches of snow on every surface. Perfect. So they keep moaning about snowstorms, even though these fat little fucks definitely don't feel the cold, until they've dug out a little dungeon. No, don't bother going inside. This isn't all for you or anything, dickhead. Dormitory. Workshop 1. Workshop 2. Starting to think now, maybe this won't be so bad. Dwarves are happy, there's plenty of food, they're picking berries, returning to the bliss of pre-industrial civilization. Oh, some migrant. How quaint. A couple new companions, perhaps a fruit organizer, and a floor inspector. Wrong again. 10 new dwarves, and half of them are children for some reason. In about 3 seconds, my fortress has gone from a peaceful little habitat to a cross between an asylum and an orphanage. Great. More beds, more shops, food warehouse inside because I have a million rats eating my plump helmet. I don't understand how stairs work, so I watch a 30-minute saga on how stairs work, and I still don't know how stairs work. But it doesn't matter, because at this point I realise that my dwarves are going to start politely asking for more alcohol soon. And by politely asking, I mean if they aren't drunk all of the time, they'll start committing mass suicide, which, while relatable, isn't very helpful. No barrels, says my brewing stand. Dwarves are apparently filling empty barrels with expanding foam or something. Eventually I get a barrel and the dwarves chew up and spit a few hundred strawberries into it to make wine. In the meantime, the dog beats the shit out of a wolverine, which then runs away, and a child punches it in the neck and kills it instantly. Pretty sure those things eat lions, but fine. Getting smoother again. Fisher dwarf that's useful for the vast swaths of... Swaths? Swaths? How do you say that? How do you say that word? I don't know how to say that word.
Swaths.
Swathes. Fisher dwarf that's useful for
Vast swathes
of fish in the area.
Swathes.
Be my commandant. Gem cutter.
Vast swathes of swaths. Vast swathes.
Crossbar at the store and stares at it. I don't know how to.
I like this guy.
Use it. Eventually, I just slaughter a ground bird. I also decide that maybe it's a little cruel to just have one dwarf endlessly digging out an entire mine shaft while 20 or so other dwarves stand around watching her. So I assign another dwarf to mining, which leads me to the realization that getting a dwarf to change profession is pretty much as easy as forcing them to do something until they gaslight themselves into believing it's their one true passion. My expedition leader has her own room now, which also seems to be doubling as some sort of shouting chamber for angry dwarves. So I build a meeting room underground,
Ducks and alpacas and dogs.
Bergenbussen is in a strange mood and has locked down a workshop to build Funko Pops. I'm paying attention to none of this because I'm mostly concerned about my complete lack of defences and the small army of angry boars making their way towards us. Oh good, more migrants. That's just grand. Can't say no, of course. Where's our dwarf border patrol? Where's dwarf ice? They come on the heels of traders, who I don't understand at all. Do I need to make a broker? Do I need gold? Do I need silver? What do you want? I just ignore it, and focus on the 6 new arrivals, which somehow also contains mostly children. Children are useless, by the way. They can't do anything productive. They just do chores
they just eat.
And play games.
Yep.
Why can't I have them making shoes, or cups, or something? Oh, okay. Now, rather than doing nothing, one of them's decided to disappear. I'm sure they're fine. That'll be their tormented spirit haunting the strawberry patch. Oh, come on, don't be such a downer. I'll take their minds off it by getting them to dig a nice big mine shaft. I'll just pretend I haven't seen that. Found a nice cave underground, which, under decree of the Dwarven Propaganda Agency, definitely does not have a massive pile of humanoid bones in the corner. I decide, for unrelated reasons, to seal the cave entrance until I'm ready to properly take its beauty in. I don't question why I steadily start seeing more and more of it on the map anyway. Turns out, a few months later, that I'd sealed a dwarf in there, and he'd been living off cave water and catching small animals. He was pretty happy though, as in, he refused to leave. He did not convince him to abandon his new fortress home among the mushrooms. So it's fine, he will stay there forever. Not to launch enough migrants at me to replace him 20 times over, so when he inevitably gets eaten by a giant cave wasp, I can pretend not to notice. Lots of dwarves for lots of workshops. I thought I'd have lost eons ago, but everything's falling into place nicely. I've even built a drawbridge, though dwarves pay no attention to who's using said drawbridge when they're giving an order to pull the lever, so I accidentally slingshot one of them into the side of the mountain, but it's fine, they're alive. This game's easy. I've even figured out trading. Turns out, you need your broker there, and they just always decide that they have something more important to do. Fortresses have lots of corners to piss in, lots of other people's bedrooms to stand around in. Why would you be doing your fucking job? Oh, what a diligent child. Finally, they're rising up and contributing. I didn't think Sheldon had any craft skill, but I do wonder what sort of magnificent impressionist artifact a child's mind can come up with. I can't use my craft station while young Sheldon is in there mincing about. Apparently, that lack of craft skill was a problem after all, as once the child realised their puny, pathetic 3-year-old hands couldn't carve a life-size model of Madonna, they proceeded to fly into a rage and run into the hall, punching a random adult dwarf. This is great. It gives us a lesson in dwarven parenting. What is a reasonable response in this situation? Is it A. Nurture the child and calm them down, non-violently diffusing the situation?
Or
B.
tell
Give
them
them
off.
a stern telling off, maybe even a smack, and send them on their way. C. Lock them in the cells for a night. C is a bit like Scared Straight, that really shitty TV show. If you said C, you're wrong.
They're
Those are all
really-
wrong. The answer is D, for dwarf. Apparently, a reasonable reaction to being punched by a child is for you and 3 other dwarves, one of which is holding a battle axe, to descend upon them, cut off their hand, and beat them to death. And don't bother cleaning it up. Just go get yourself a drink. It's been a tough day. You've had to fight a child after all. On the plus side, that's productivity gone up about 2%, and it's 1 less mouth to feed. That's a win, which means I've won, which means I can sleep easy, knowing my little friends are safe and sound in their beds. Yeah, I'll have to cut this before I die because I've become accidentally invincible, so if you're still here for some reason, you could do this, or that, or even this. Or don't, I can't force you. The Violence layer for Ultra Kill released a few days back, and now that I've peed all over it, I feel like I can actually talk about it without being a pathetic casual with a life or something. It also allegedly means that I, a person with abilities that basically amount to trial and error, feel like I have authority to help other people do pees. And I could call it potty training, but the toilet humour wasn't funny the first time, and it definitely wasn't funny the second time, so I shan't. Also, I presume you know a fair bit about the mechanics. If you're trying to P-rank the late game and you don't know how to fight mind flayers, then wing it. Starting with 7-1, Garden of Forking Paths. The start is cute, quiet, unsettling, spooky. It's nice to save on your first run and then rush through as fast as possible the next 30. Immediately after this first section, your fight or flight is triggered by the first new enemy, mannequins. These are a logical evolution of your standard enemy. They move erratically on the walls and ceilings, they shoot homing projectiles, and they combo their melee attacks together. They're quite tough enemies with one major weakness. Everything they do is really easy to parry. Once you figure that out, they become much simpler. And the projectiles are actually a really good source of health, so as long as you keep an eye on them, you're gold. If a mannequin gets behind you though, it's going to shove its entire arm up your sphincter. They like to glitch out sometimes, which is cute. First encounter will have 6 of them, and after that most every encounter in the level has some amount of mannequins. A few in this room, which you can just saw blade to bits, then some in the spiral staircase, then some get squashed by a tanker truck. The next encounter is a bit tight. It's in a small room. Starts with a Maurice, then 2 Cerbri, and there's some mannequins floating about. You can cheese this encounter a bit by keeping really close to the tanker truck. If you keep close enough, the Maurice will spawn inside it and instantly die. Then you just need to kill the Cerbri. After that, spiral staircase with some firemen, blow them up. Then a big vertical box encounter, which is actually quite tough just because of the verticality. This is really where you get to see mannequins in their element. They're at their toughest when they have an enclosed space they can bounce from floor to ceiling in. It's tempting to focus the virtues down, but the easiest way to do the fight is probably to get rid of the mannequins first, as once the virtues are down it'll spawn some drones and a yuck flare. That's the last fight in this level before the 2-phase boss battle. First part is in the London Underground, and the hardest bit is staying on the platforms. Generally the Minotaur's attacks are pretty easy to dodge, but it's hard to get healing in, and the husk that spawns to give you healing actually ends up doing more harm than good. The boss is armoured, but shotgun swap projectile boost, that kills it really quickly, otherwise just shoot until it dies. Very original, I know. After this you'll find yourself in the least suspicious final room of all time, where the Minotaur returns. This is a bit more difficult because it actually attempts to charge you down and hit you, but it's the same basic principle, even less healing. If you're really struggling for the healing, you can try the borderline useless drill weapon, but you're probably better off using the railgun. On to 7-2, Light Up the Night. Almost straight away another new enemy is introduced, the Guttermen. These are like the chain gunner from Doom, but not made by a misanthrope. They have a shield and a minigun, and the tracking gets better the longer you let them fire until they're basically undodgeable. Using the knuckle blaster on their shields makes them more vulnerable, but in exchange their tracking gets a lot better. These guys seem really difficult at first and are definitely worth focusing down, but there's a simple trick to completely body them every time. Get in really close, immediately knuckle blast down their shield, swap to your other fist, they will go for a punch every time, and you parry it. You can't parry them if they've got the shield, but the punch, easy to parry. And then just shotgun swap in their face until they die. It's not my fault shotgun swapping is so stupidly effective against big targets, but it is my fault I'm a sweaty tryhard. You can also stomp on their bodies and make them explode, which isn't that useful, but it's funny. This technique can be used on every Gutterman in the level, every Gutterman ever in fact, which is great because there are tons of them. There are a few encounters with them before you're introduced to another new enemy, the Gutter Tank, which in my opinion is one of the most...
You lost me. And I'm sorry, I tried. We were close. Shifts that pass in the night. But you seem so entrenched in that little world. And I'm part of it. Like I am part of that. I have a problem with this.
Starbound. You remember Starbound, right? Developed and published by
do.
Chucklefish Games, Starbound
Yep.
was an enormously successful game.
Thank you,
within
Progress.
the
I'd like
2D
to sub to your
open-world
channel.
survival craft genre that Terraria created. Although it's become another forgotten indie game, at its release it competed with the behemoth of Terraria, and offered a unique experience that was praised by critics and players alike. However, as time passed, players realized that there could only be one Terraria, and Starbound fell into obscurity. But why? Starbound was unique to Terraria in a few key ways to distinguish itself as a new title. Most importantly, it came with an overarching story that drove new players to complete various tasks to progress further in the game, sacrificing the limitless options that Terraria provides for a less daunting, more head-holding experience. Moreover, it has more than one world. The ship you have is your key to exploring the vast open world universe you find yourself in. Fuel becomes a vital resource as you hop from planet to planet, discovering the different flora and fauna, and the occasional research facility. Most other elements are seamlessly brought over from Terraria and molded to fit the world that Starbound exists in. And then, of course, as the story progresses, the endgame deviates more and more from Terraria's boss-focused resolution to a more traditional narrative conclusion that I won't spoil. The concept of the game, Terraria with an infinite universe, obviously captured players. The game had considerable hype during development and garnered significant financial support on the humble store. After raising over $1 million in 2013, the game then launched later that year in early access, and by 2016 it had been fully released. As of December 2016, the game had sold 2.5 million copies. To say the reviews were good would be an understatement. It was praised by critics, being granted an 81 out of 100 on Metacritic, marginally behind Terraria's 83, as well as many other reviews seldom falling below 80%. Players too adored the game, often comparing it to Terraria, but concluding it was the better game between the two, because of its additional content and quality of life features. What's more exciting was the game's state of development. Players would express excitement for the game's potential. At the time of release and subsequent months, Starbound saw more success than Terraria in terms of Steam reviews, which is hard to imagine today. As it was in early access, it saw incredibly frequent updates, posting a weekly update roundup from August 2014 until December. On the 23rd of June in 2016, the game had officially released into 1.0. But somewhere along the way it lost its allure. Terraria had retaken its spot atop the throne, and Starbound was struggling to re-entice players into its boundless worlds. And if we ignore the enormous spike during the Steam Summer Sale in 2019, where the game could be used to get massive discounts, the game has since seen no resurgence and likely won't, as the Bounty Hunter update spelled the end of Starbound's development. So, something clearly went wrong here. The game was seemingly enough to differentiate it from its parent title Terraria. However, as Terraria's popularity grew, Starbound's dwindled. There's a few reasons why that is. You don't have to be a genius to figure out that Starbound was intended to be a direct competitor with Terraria. The game came primarily from the mind of Finn Bryce, who worked on Terraria during early stages of development as a graphic designer. The game had a fair amount of hype at the time, and its blog saw frequent progress updates that would be met with much excitement in the community. On release, as we already saw, the game was compared to Terraria, but with infinite content, and a much more satisfying story, but this desire to be likened to Terraria unfortunately spelled its demise. Terraria struggled to gain mainstream popularity for a long period of time due to its polarizing art style, although it's almost common knowledge at this point that games with better gameplay typically tend to outlast games with better art. At the time, one of Starbound's major selling points was its upgrade in graphics. Certainly it does come down to personal choice, but in most instances, Starbound does have a nicer aesthetic. But it's not actually unique in any way. Sure, it might look a bit better than Terraria, but by the time of release, people were used to Terraria's art, and Starbound's tried too hard to emulate it and ended up appearing off, rather than better. The art style Starbound chose was so incredibly similar that people had trouble seeing it as a different game, and thus didn't bother with it. You can emulate art, but emulation rarely results in ingenuity, and because of that, Starbound's art was not nearly as innovative as it needed to be to really establish itself as a lone title, and nor was its gameplay. The survival craft genre can only have so many primary mechanics, especially when you're constricted to a 2D view, but other games have managed to incorporate different types of gameplay effectively. Sure, you fly to other planets, but on each planet you're doing a similar thing that you're doing on your home planet, mining for resources and building. What works incredibly well is when developers take survival craft and add a new, unique element that not only changes the aesthetic, but ends up having ripple effects across the entire game. Raft was not designed to be a Minecraft competitor, it was designed to be a survival game on a raft in the middle of the ocean rather than on land. This then changes how you get food, water, and resources. It also introduces necessity to players to grow their raft, and focuses more on survival, as food and water are naturally rarer in the middle of the ocean. Starbound is, for lack of a better phrase, Terraria with interplanetary travel. That gameplay element is cool in isolation, but it doesn't end up having a knock-on effect with any other aspect of gameplay. Even though Far World Pioneers has done incredibly poorly, the focus on colony management was undoubtedly enough of a distinction where it was no longer seen purely as a Terraria clone. Although it's likely to be abandoned due to the poor reception, the concept itself has had far more potential, simply due to the deviation from the genre standards that it took, and the new gameplay elements it could introduce. And this is not to say that Starbound is inherently a bad game. I'm sure if it was the first game in the genre, it would have been praised for its innovation and expansive universe, but it wasn't the first game in its genre, and it clearly took a lot of mechanics from Terraria. Furthermore, in order to distinguish itself from Terraria, it dulled down some of the most renowned parts of Terraria, like its boss fights and intricate worlds. Additionally, it has a story. The idea of a sandbox game having a story was quite notable, and it saw conflicting reception. I personally didn't think it worked. Here we get into opinion, but I don't think it makes sense for the game to present itself so similar to Terraria and not expect to get backlash for having a linear story. One of the best parts of Terraria was its freedom, and with Starbound you're immediately guided step by step towards the end goal. Granted, it's far from hand-holding, but the fact that it exists at all is disheartening. Imagine how much more exciting it would have been to arrive on a planet and figure out how to fix your spaceship before launching and discovering how many planets there are and the sheer number of choices you have. Ultimately, its likening to Terraria was probably the primary cause of its downfall, as it failed to provide anything new to the genre and ended up competing with an already established fan favorite. Seldom do new games outgrow old games of the same genre, unless they make considerable changes, far more than a new coat of paint and some miscellaneous mechanics. And it's so unfortunate to be so belittling towards a game that clearly offers satisfying and new gameplay, but the nuance and novelty of the gameplay was lost under its simple exterior. I think we all remember No Man's Sky on launch. Over 18 quintillion planets, but every one was the same. The way No Man's Sky generation worked was by using Perlin noise to project a pseudo-random terrain across an entire planet, then populate said planet with flora and fauna created through selecting various designs and stitching them together. The problem with that is that there are not enough things changed between each planet, and they all ended up feeling like similar collections of land masses with odd-looking animals and sparse flora. The actual biomes upon each planet would be the same across the entire planet, and be incredibly similar to the generation of other planets. It's quite easy to see how this exploration can be incredibly dull, because players were promised a new experience with each planet, but given the same planet over and over with little variation and thus little incentive to explore. The allure of No Man's Sky was its boundless generation that would provide the space travel that most of us likely won't see in our lifetime. To realize that would be not only a phenomenal game, but an impressive tech innovation that proves the potential of creative programming and design. And with time, it became that, but the sheer letdown of the final product immortalized the game as having one of the worst launches of all time, with one of the most inspiring comeback stories. Unfortunately for Starbound, not only did it have the difficulties of procedural generation to deal with, but it also had to compete with Terraria's notoriously intricate world. Creating many randomly generated biomes and considering them a planet is one thing, but adding dungeons, secrets, bosses, and resources to them proved a difficult task. If you need a certain item from the ocean in Terraria, you move to the far left or far right of the world. If you need an item from the jungle, you can locate the jungle, either above or below ground. If you need an item from anywhere, it's locatable somewhere within the vast world. It doesn't need any other planets because it already contains a multitude of biomes and experiences packed tightly together. If you need an item or to progress the story in Starbound, you do need to go to another planet, sure, but the planet is really one biome spread across its entirety. Granted, the amount of biomes in Starbound does outnumber Terraria's, however, each planet doesn't really feel like a planet, because typically planets are not only diverse from each other, but have varied flora and fauna within it. I mean, we live on planet Earth. We have deserts, forests, jungles, volcanoes, caves, oceans, lakes, rivers, plains, mountains, etc. Although Earth is just one planet, it's not just thousands and thousands of kilometers, a bush or forest or any one environment. Planets without life are far more prevalent in our universe, but in Starbound's many inhabited planets are still that same single biome. For a planet to support life, it must have at least some ecosystems that vary across the planet, unlike the many gas giants and floating rocks that offer nothing new. The way landscapes are created is again really constrictive, because not only do you suffer from the same limitations as No Man's Sky, but that's then projected onto 2D, which makes the world feel much smaller. Enormous, unscalable mountains look fantastic in No Man's Sky, but are just annoying in Starbound, which is why they're far and few in between. Your sense of scale is never overwhelmed as it should be when you're presented by so many planets. Moving from planet to planet feels no different from moving from pylon to pylon in Terraria, and it's all well and good for me to critique Starbound's world generation while offering no alternative, but I can assure you that there would have been better, but likely more difficult, ways to create better and grander worlds with more unique creatures. There's a developer called Rujik the Comatose who has some absolutely phenomenal videos on procedural monsters and how he manages to create general frameworks for each animal class. With a system similar to this in place but projected onto Starbound's 2D world, not only would you get far more variation than collaging a few predetermined skeleton parts, but you'd also add a unique style to the game and be able to play off that. Starbound could have done with far more diverse biome generation, where rather than relying on pre-made trees and flora, they could have done procedurally grown plants under different conditions to not only make the plants aesthetically coherent with the biome, but fitting with the humidity, temperature, population, life forms, and all other factors. The game's focus wasn't on procedural generation, it was on the story, but that makes their choice to make their generation somewhat lackluster confusing, because the infinite planets was a major selling point. Caves of Cud does really impressive world generation where it simulates entire civilizations, histories, and biomes every time the player opens a new game. Players created their own story and truly experienced a unique universe in which they had ultimate freedom. The game's graphics certainly alienates most potential players, including myself, but the framework beneath is without a doubt a masterclass in procedural generation, and it extends far, far more than what Starbound and indeed No Man's Sky have done. So here we can see Starbound suffers from the No Man's Sky problem, promising infinite worlds but delivering planets with little variation and quickly repetitive gameplay. The game could have been far better had it conformed to more handcrafted world with procedural generation to cut down on development time. You need to remember that Starbound is a story game, and fulfilling quests by jumping from similar planet to similar planet turns quickly from a curious journey to a burden. Because Starbound is a story game, once completing the game, you feel satisfaction and likely aren't very inclined to revisit. There is post-endgame content, but that is mainly traveling from planet to planet on bounty hunter missions with the same weaponry and armor and little player progression. Not very exciting. The game also has a little too much grind during its story, so to continue that isn't exactly appealing. The story itself isn't short, and it'll probably take you a little over 24 hours to reach the final boss. In my opinion, that's more than enough content for what you're paying for. And to be honest, Terraria doesn't offer much post-Moonlord content either. It's probably a briefer game experience if you know what you're doing, with about 20 hours of content up to Moonlord for beginners who use the wiki to assist them. But then why do people keep playing Terraria? So the first reason is the pre-endgame content is more varied. In Starbound, you don't really have different builds. You move from best weapon to best weapon, and it makes relatively little difference whether that's a sword, throwing weapon, bow, or whatever else. In Terraria, your build won't only determine your weapon, but also your trinkets, potions, armor, and playstyle. This means there's more variety in each playthrough you do. The second reason people keep playing Terraria is because it takes longer to complete all achievements. The average leisure player of Terraria will take drastically longer as there's more avenues to distract you. This leads us to the third reason. Building in Terraria is a slightly better process than in Starbound. You have more types of blocks, more building utilities in the form of trinkets and potions, and it's probably what you're used to. People make incredibly impressive builds in Starbound, but Terraria's system is more refined and familiar, and because of that you tend to see far more Terraria builds than Starbound builds. Terraria also now has far more difficulty options, giving players more ability to customize the challenge of the game. After you've played through once, you might feel inspired to go back and test your skills on a harder difficulty with a different player build. And then, the most notable reason people keep playing Terraria is the absurdly active modding community. Vanilla Terraria is already a fine game, but with massive mods like Calamity and Overhaul, your playthrough could be drastically extended with thousands of new items, hundreds of new enemies, and many new bosses. The base game is so good and so easy to expand on that people clearly love creating amazing new boss battles and player classes to create a drastically more in-depth experience. Starbound developers, well aware of the massive potential for modding, created a framework with modding in mind. The game's Steam page proudly states, Starbound has been built from the ground up to be multiplayer and easily moddable. You have the tools to make the universe your own and modify the game to suit your playstyle. Add new items, races, planet types, dungeons and quests, the possibilities are limitless. Suffice to say, this didn't really happen. There are many mods for Starbound, certainly, but none as elaborate or gigantic as Terraria's. I'd say this is likely due to a few reasons. Starbound's story made it hard to add elements to the game pre-endgame, because new story elements would have to cohere with the greater story, which is an incredibly difficult feat to do without being out of place. It also meant that all added items would have to fit after one unlock and before another, because you would seldom encounter certain items too early or too late in Starbound in its effort to be a linear story, as opposed to Terraria where you could pretty much get any item at any time, defined by a few broad time periods like pre-hard mode, pre-Plantera, and pre-Moonlord. And speaking of Terraria, why would modders spend the time porting Terraria mods over to Starbound when they already had a perfectly viable game to mod, and an established collection of praised mods? And that's what it would have been, porting mods over, because the gameplay was so similar that adding items to Starbound meant they'd likely already been added to Terraria, or would also work in Terraria. The attempt to compete with Terraria comes back to bite them, because they provided a great modding framework that was pretty much unused due to the game's core gameplay lacking any innovation, hence lacking any reason to mod over Terraria. Now, there was a very successful mod for a brief period of time, but most mods are quality of life changes rather than major content additions or anything that could encourage more playthroughs of the game or extended periods of time in endgame. Because of the weaker modding scene and linear story, the game doesn't offer much replayability, which is fine, but pitting itself against Terraria turned it from a good story game to a bad sandbox game. And now I feel like we need to understand truly why Starbound tried so hard to steal Terraria's audience.
Yep. Okay, guys, I'm sorry, but I had a long day today, full of family shit and long walking and stuff, and I'm gonna close this session early at 7 hours and 50 minutes because I'm falling asleep on your asses anyways. And I'm sorry, I'm not normally that short of a session, but I don't want to fall asleep on you and embarrass myself any further than I already have. So I'm going to stop here, and with just a reminder, if you want to sub to me, I'm on Twitch, And you can also come to my website, which is skycat.live, and click on the cat space to donate if you're on YouTube. And thank you so much for your time, and I'm going to go to bed. I'll see you guys early tomorrow morning. Bye. Love you.